Joe, the college football playoff ranking is out, and we have a new bracket here, and we have some news coming from Ward Manuel, I say commissioner, but he's not the commissioner, the playoff chair, about the rankings and teams outside of the playoff from 13 or 13 on, 12, 13 on, that it's not going to move. So we have what could be somewhat of a pretty steady set bracket for most of this, but we have some games in here. I guess, what are your overall thoughts about what the committee announced tonight on the top teams in the bracket?
Well, off of what you just said, now that we know that these teams are essentially set, barring that there isn't some cataclysmic change, the only real big one that's the most likely is what happens in the ACC championship game, and that is going to possibly edge out Alabama because SMU could have an argument against them, which I would not support. But the one thing that we have been battling on is if there is a 3-loss SEC team to get in, who would it be? I wasn't completely opposed to putting one 3-loss team in. Putting multiples in would have caused, I think, an enormous lack of respect for the voting and the decision-making of the committee. Alabama feels really off to me, though. Like, I feel weird about where they are and them being the team amongst Ole Miss and South Carolina getting in, because right now South Carolina has the best resume. Ole Miss doesn't belong being that third team or that last team in. But I guess that what we're going off of is the fact that Alabama beat them head-to-head, and they've got a really good win over Georgia. And that's enough.
To interrupt you, they did the logical thing, which was, we understand that South Carolina has the better record. And look, for what it's worth, I wanted South Carolina in over Alabama. I'm just going to say that. Okay. I think South Carolina is kind of getting a little bit hosed. But at the same time, the game was played out on the field, Joe. Like, what else are we supposed to do there? It's not as if that I can make these hypotheticals for just a second and say, boom, boom, boom. There just comes a part where the game's got to matter. It can't not matter.
So that's the biggest thing for me, and why I thought that there was a chance that all three of them got pushed out, because for the argument for South Carolina is, yes, they've got the best resume and they've got the better losses of the bunch, but because they faced one another and because South Carolina also played Ole Miss, they lost both those games and were blown out by Ole Miss at home. You're not supposed to make this decision. I think that this is one of the few things that the committee does correctly. You should not make this decision based on what has transpired in the last month. You have to play the entire season. The performances of the entire season have to matter. Otherwise, we would be talking about Florida being in the mix because we could make a bunch of excuses and consolations to get them in. So at the plain and simple end of the day, head-to-head has to be the most important thing. It just does.
Yeah, but it's just, look, I'm not trying to poo-poo on Notre Dame tonight, but it's just so bad, though, to say that when you got an NIU loss.
But NIU's not in the ranking.
That
wait. I know.
Hold on.
Wait. Let me say something.
Right. They're not in the ranking.
Let me say something.
By a team that's not in the ranking. Those other teams have lost to the teams in the ranking. So hold on. But the gripe for me was never about the Notre Dame a part of this, or even so much the Indiana here at the end. My gripe is with SMU or Clemson. My gripe is with Arizona State or Iowa State. My gripe is with Boise State.
Yeah.
Because here's the real truth. The real truth is Arizona State and Boise State have no business being there. They have no business. The truth is the number 12 seed that should be going to Penn State should be Ole Miss. It should. And then when I look, because Boise's got a bye, I'll just put them wherever. Joe, South Carolina should be going to Notre Dame.
Look, I don't disagree with that aspect of it. And you know that the both of us have agreed that the expanded playoff field is not the issue, because we could have a lot of really good, fun, competitive matchups between all these teams that have done some tremendous things. The problem with the bracket is that we're forcing in and we're giving buys to some of these teams that don't really deserve it. I've said this with you. I don't want to go read down this rabbit hole again. I don't mind the thought of the Big 12 champion getting into the mix, but the problem that we now create with the ACC situation is that, say Clemson goes out there and beats SMU. SMU has guaranteed themselves a spot in the playoff field, and then Clemson's going to get in with 3 losses. That is something that I can't really respect, because Clemson has had competitive opportunities and they've lost those opportunities. They don't really have any good wins.
So what happens if they beat SMU, even if it's by a point?
Well, then they get in. They're going to get in, and Alabama's probably going to get pushed out.
No, there's no way.
I would be stunned if they pushed SMU out, because they basically said that's what Warren Manuel said.
Well, then he needs to be fired, and he's got to be fired. There is no way that SMU deserves to be in over those teams, and you know that. If they lose,
no, I don't disagree with that, because if SMU can't beat Clemson, one of their only real tough matchups, I don't count BYU. BYU is a barnyard win that, wait, no. So I didn't mean to say win. Their one loss is to BYU, and that's a barnyard loss. That loss does not look as good as we thought it did. I don't disagree with that. I mean, you can't put SMU in if they lose in the AC championship game, but they're going to.
Because then it becomes, regardless if it's Alabama or not, that you got to justify to me SMU over Bama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. That is dog water.
Well,
that's dog water. I don't want to hear it anymore. SMU in over, good and God dog well, that Bama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina are better than them. Stop it.
I don't disagree with that. SMU getting in at the current moment's fine. If they win the ACC championship game, they 1,000% deserve it. But I'm on that same boat where I can't get behind this thought of SMU staying in with 2 losses. They're going to. Warren Manuel said basically that is going to be the case, that they can't be penalized. He said that the field is set, that there's not going to be any penalizing for teams that are playing in their conference championship games. So that therefore implies, I don't know if there's potential truth to this, that Tulane wouldn't be the next G5 team in, but there's a possibility, and this is where things get really absurd, and I'm going to lose my mind if it comes to fruition, that if UNLV wins the Mountain West and they have the same record as as Boise State, and they've got a 1 win against one another, and they split against one another, theoretically, you could have in Tulane or UNLV also in the mix with Boise State, because he basically implied that would be bullshit. That's where I can't get behind. Ranking Boise State as high as they did created such a shit show potentially for what could happen.
Dude, they put him in the top 10. Boise State.
They shouldn't be in the top 10. They shouldn't be in the top 10.
Here's the thing.
15th. We
argue about this every week. There's no way that you think that South Carolina doesn't blow the doors off of Boise State.
Well, you and I don't argue about this every single week. I agree with you on this. Boise State.
No, you argue.
I have never argued in favor of Boise State. I have been anti-G5 in the playoff field.
No, you said that if you win your conference, you should get in.
Not for the G5.
Well, Joe, okay, even if it's not the G5, what about the ACC and the Big 12?
That I don't mind as much, because you're at least playing consistently competitive matchups compared to the G5. Winning your conference is a hard accomplishment here. It's not like we're sticking a 4-loss team in because they won their conference. That's not what I'm advocating for.
Let me ask you this question. Is it harder to play in the same season, Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, or is it tougher to play in the Big 12?
It's obviously harder to play those SEC matchups that you just named.
Hold on then. If that's the case, then one is better than the other.
Not if.
It is.
If you have a worse record.
You cannot justify that logic. You can't.
I can, because
Joe, if you're on a bench press, and you are benching 185 pounds 8 times or 10 times, And I
isn't
did
applicable.
225. Hold on. I did 225 9 times. Who did more?
This is not a good analogy.
It's a great analogy.
Because
you know
what you just
because
used, what you just used is a totally simple and easy to see comparison, because more weight or a certain number of weight is more than the other in that analogy. In this situation, there is not enough direct comparisons. It's objective. This is opinion based.
So you think it's opinion based that the SEC is better than the Big 12? It's not opinion based.
Yes, it is. That is not something that I'm not disagreeing with that premise. I'm not disagreeing with that premise.
I am clipping this myself.
And
the caption is going to be
no.
DeLeone believes that the Big 12 is equal to the SEC.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. That's not what I said.
You and Danny Cannell are the same person.
That's not what I said.
Same exact person.
Blake, all I'm saying to you is that premise is something that has a bunch of factors that need to be brought up. The opinion that is the favorable opinion that everybody agrees with is that the SEC is better than the Big 12.
You're Skip. You are the Jersey Young version of Skip Bayless.
Stop it. Stop this.
You are. I can't get it out of. You're Skip Bayless.
Okay, let me ask you this before
without the DeMar Hamlin tweets.
Let me ask you this before we finish this up here.
Okay.
Who do you think has the best path out of all these teams? Because I would argue.
Joe, that is easy.
Who?
It's Penn State.
Yeah, that actually is ridiculous now that I look at this.
Oh, brother, let me tell you.
Hate that.
Hold on. If I'm Penn State, you got to have a serious conversation if you're Penn State to sit your starters and lose the Big 12. Can I tell you why? Then you got to face Arizona State or Iowa State. Then you would face Boise State. And then you're in a college football playoff semifinal.
Here's one thing though that gets really perplexing here. Does Georgia and Texas, do they just flip based on what? So if Texas wins, does Georgia stay?
I mean, I would assume so.
So they're going to have to play each other 3 times this season. That's got to be one of the most ridiculous possibilities that we could encounter here.
I mean, I would assume maybe Texas could go to 5. Penn State will go somewhere else. I don't know. We got to let the games play out. But here's the truth.
If Georgia loses, they'll probably drop a tiny bit.
If Boise State wins and Arizona State wins, okay, let's just say, like, if Oregon loses, like, it's beneficial for the Big Ten champ it's beneficial for Oregon to lose. Because you get Arizona State, Boise State, who you already have played, you're going to get a rematch there if that would have happened. I mean, like, you're going to have rematches somewhere.
It's a tough-ass battle to have to face Ohio State or Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, that's insane that you're bringing. You're right. You're 1,000% right.
Why would I play if I'm Penn State? I know that you want to win the Big Ten. Okay, hold on. Blake Ruffino wants championships. Just to make it clear, I'm going after a championship. As I said earlier, you got to have the conversation in your mind. Well, hey, man, Ward Manuel said that there's not going to be shakeup if chalk pans out and everybody's here. It's going to remain the same, hypothetically. If I'm Penn State and I have Arizona State, Boise State, and I would have the winner out of Oregon, Tennessee, and Ohio State. Do you notice what they've done? Hold on.
Yes.
Do you notice what they've done here too, by the way?
What?
They have made it damn near impossible for there to be any other scenario where it's not a Big Ten and SEC matchup in the national title game.
Well, which is good, which is a good thing.
No,
because then
it's also what they're intending to do. And come on, they know what they're doing. It's not that they know what TV people know what they're doing.
No, I mean, that part I don't agree. I mean, I don't disagree with.
Comes out of the top, right? Like, unless Tennessee starts upsetting some teams.
Which, to be honest, I don't think they have that.
All right, let me just say this. Let's just say, hypothetically, Texas beats Georgia. Indiana going to Athens is going to be an ass whipping.
I do
it's
not.
going to be an ass whipping.
I do not. I mean, that is. I don't envy Indiana. That is insane that they would have to
hold
go to
on.
Athens. They're going to get their asses kicked. I'm sorry, Indiana fans.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Knock, 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 knock. Hey, Lane Kiffin's on line 1. Hey, big dog. We beat the dog shit out of Georgia, and because we had 2 more losses.
What are they going to retroactively let Ole Miss go and play a game? If they, like, what?
No, but this is going to be a case study to show everyone that, hey, just because one conference, the Big Ten or the SEC, whether they're like, let's just say the Big Ten's massively up one year, massively up, and they're in the same situation as the SEC, I would be clamoring for the same thing. But because Indiana is in a situation where they only got 1 loss, Ole Miss is like, yeah, bro, but Indiana's getting blown out by Georgia, a team that we beat, by the way, a team that we beat. I mean, it's a horrible way to look at this.
I don't disagree that they don't need. I mean, we obviously know that they need to fix it. And the one thing, I guess we have to wait and see
everything.
What? Say it again.
Conference to conference, wins can't be everything when one team. Because Joe, here's the truth: Boise State, for what it's worth, has played an easier schedule. They've actually faced more teams with winning records than Indiana.
Okay, but we both know that those teams with winning records are not the same as the teams with losing records. That none of the Mountain West teams that they have faced.
Purdue's bad, and they got to play Purdue last week.
Purdue would beat most of the Mountain West teams.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they would.
I would say the same thing about Mississippi State, who lost to Toledo. Both conferences have one. So, I mean, like, they might be they'd struggle in the Mountain West. All right, last thing here. Bama's going into South Bend and winning that football game.
No, they're not. When was the last time most of these Southeastern teams played in snow? Plain and simple.
When's the last time that you've had Northern teams dominate SEC teams? Oh, wait, never.
But we have never witnessed an opportunity like this. I don't think Alabama's ready to deal with Notre Dame's ground game in December in the snow potentially.
Okay.
12 days. It gets freaking cold in South Bend, Indiana. We're not talking cold. We're talking about cold. Freeze your nuts off cold. There's wind that comes off of the lake.
Clemson did it.
When?
Literally when y'all joined the ACC that year, didn't they go into South Bend in late November, early December, and beat the dog shit out of you?
No, because earlier in the season, Notre Dame got Clemson at home and beat Clemson at home, and then they went neutral site for the ACC championship game. This is something we've never seen.
Who was the quarterback of that game for Clemson? Oh, wait, that's DJU.
He sucks.
And you still almost got beat. Bama's going into South Bend and winning that football game.
That is false.
Speaking of whoever were to win that game, then in the second round, you got the ACC champion.
Cakewalk.
If you're 6 or 11, 5 or 12, if you can win that first game.
Yeah. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.